Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this special day. I'm Sarah Winter. I'm chair of the Lucia program. I was on the court myself for 2 years, but never crowned. Sad. I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Scott Burns, the famous Portland geologist who has been part of the Oregon Lucia crowning for decades. So, welcome, Scott.
And thank you very much, Sarah. And this is such a fun event. And this year we're going to actually crown Lucia here. And I think this is a wonderful time here. Let me give you a little bit of background about Lucia. And it's an incredible story that we have. Early in the morning of the darkest and shortest day of the year, she comes, Lucia, Queen of Light, in a long white robe tied with a broad red sash and a crown of flickering candles on her head, bringing with her a tray full of Lucia bread and a pot of coffee. But, you know, that is the Scandinavian or the Nordic legend, but the legend started in Italy in 304 AD. Lucia was a Sicilian maiden from a very wealthy family, and she sacrificed her Christian faith and her generosity. Going against her fiancé's wishes, she secretly gave away her whole dowry that she had to the poor. When her fiancé discovered this, he got very mad. He denounced her. He tortured her and had her killed. Ouch! Not good. In the Catholic faith, Lucia became known as Santa Lucia, Saint Lucia, the patron saint of light. Nordic legend holds that along the shores of Lake Vänern, which is in the Swedish province of Värmland, a white-robed maiden was delivering food and clothing to the poor in the wake of a terrible storm that had left most of the people snowed in. On her head, she had a crown of burning candles to light her way through the darkness of the wintertime. This legend spread quickly throughout all the Nordic countries. And now, in the early mornings of December 13th, melodic strains of Santa Lucia, which we're all going to get a chance to sing in a little while, can be heard everywhere as an honored white-robed maiden comes out of the long wintry night wearing a crown of burning candles to dispel the darkness and bring light on the Christmas season. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah now. But it's an interesting story.
Since 1956, the Scandinavian community of Oregon has taken great pride in sharing, presenting, and preserving this special tradition of Lucia. Throughout these 66 years, we have sent young women to Sweden, granted scholarships, brought light to retirement homes and children's hospitals, supplied needs to our houseless and fosters communities, just to name a few. We are grateful to the Nordic community and supporters for keeping this program alive and thriving. Each year, an amazing group of young women join the Lucia program. Each one of them brings their own individual light to our community. This year, we had more applications than we have had in decades. It was a very hard choice to choose only 7, but these 7 are Oregon's 67th official Lucia court. Through the next year, these young ladies will shine the light and story of Lucia by attending over 20 different events. Through the community's support, each of them will receive a scholarship to further their own education.
But out of these 7, only one will be crowned Lucia today, which is a bummer. I'm glad I was not on the selection committee because I could never have chosen one out of this group. And our wonderful judges are down here in front, and so I'd like to thank Ava Bazile, who was the 2018-2019 Lucia. Edward Running, who was Nordic Northwest board member. And thank you, Edward. Christy Stilson, a former Scandinavian of the Year. Kristen Farber, community member and also a former President's Award recipient. And Beth Burzak, who was a President's Award recipient too. So what are they looking for? Their decision is based totally on the enthusiasm for Nordic culture, heritage, and tradition, along with a heart for the community that we have here. They will consider the court members' applications, their essays, their personal interviews, and their speeches, and the poor young ladies have been through an awful lot just recently with all of that. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah.
Now it's time to hear from our court. Each court member will introduce themselves and give a speech about their passion for Nordic culture, tradition, and heritage. In random order, we will now hand the mic over to our Lucia court.
My name is Tess Enriquez. I'm a junior at Beaverton's Arts and Communication Magnet Academy, and I associate St. Lucia with light, hope, and the luminous brightness that comes with it. I associate Scandinavian tradition with my family, my Grammy's craft room, ScanFair scavenger hunts, dancing, cardamom bread, joy. I think that's the important thing, the joy. What's important to us? The question we want to ask is, how can I add to the joy? Be generous and kind and light-filled, and how can I help everyone else do the same thing? Taking some of my warmest winter memories and turning them into that kindness and hope. How can we do that, especially through tradition? How can we be another family? Because our heritage is supposed to help us find community, both family through and beyond blood. When I say I'm Norwegian, I think of my hours spent here, spent learning about my family and their history. My little sister and her bunad left us every winter. Even though I've never been to Norway, I have found so much happiness through what traditions were shown to me by people I love. I have a family that inspires me to want to be part of that family for others, connected to my community, finding happiness and heritage. I hope that we can do that for you and many more, because we are not creatures of darkness. We are humans who want dearly to be full of lights, and I hope I may aid in carrying it through song, kind thought and action, heritage, family, and the story of St. Lucia and what it means to our community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hella Walter. I'm a junior at Beaverton High School, and my heritage is Norwegian. My momel, or grandmother, came to the U.S. from Stavanger, Norway in the mid-1960s. She ended up meeting my grandfather, and they settled in Portland. My grandmother's entire family was, and still is, back in Norway, so she always felt like she had a foot in both places. She was an active member and helped build up the Scandinavian Heritage Foundation, which is now Nordic Northwest. She continued many Norwegian traditions with my mother, like 17. Mai celebrations, Yule often, ScanFair, Midsummer, and of course Lucia. Sadly, my grandmother passed away before I was born, but I feel like I knew her through participating in all things Norwegian and Scandinavian. The Christmas season is always a special time to celebrate all the Nordic traditions. We decorate our house with Lucia, Nissas, Danish woven hearts, and reindeers. When I was 7 months old, I attended my first ScanFair. I loved to dress in my bunad and volunteer as a greeter with my mother. We would always volunteer on Sunday to specifically watch the Lucia procession. I am looking forward to being part of that procession this year. I have so many Norwegian traditions that I enjoy. From as far back as I can remember, we always had a special cookie making day on December 13th, which is Santa Lucia Day. We usually make krumkaga, sandkaga, and pepperkaga. We then would deliver these cookies to our neighbors. Every year I look forward to attending the Toskaklubben Christmas dinner at Norse Hall. My favorite part is dancing around the Christmas tree, singing Norwegian Christmas songs about going around the Innenba bush or juniper bush, doing chores each day of the week. When I'm in Norway visiting family, we always take part in great Norwegian traditions of hiking in mountains and fjords. I've hiked up Preikestolen twice, been to a rock stuck between two cliffs called Sherrock, and hiked up 4,444 stairs in Lysefjorden called Fleury. The beauty of these mountains and fjords is almost indescribable. You can't help but feel inspired when taking in all the incredible nature. After these hikes, we go back to our hytte, or cabin, to relax or cruise us. Because I've grown up around a lot of Norwegian traditions, sometimes I think, doesn't everyone eat fish balls and dance around a Christmas tree? It's become such a part of me, and I hope to share and celebrate these traditions with others. I believe my grandmother would be very proud that these traditions of her childhood are alive and well in me. Thank you.
Going to adjust this a little bit. Mitt navn Bryn Berland, and I am a senior at Jesuit High School. I am Norwegian through my mom's side of the family. To me, being Norwegian can be described in one word: spirit. When I think of characteristics of a Scandinavian, I think of someone who is hardworking and oriented around long-lasting relationships. I learned this was true when we would visit my grandparents. My sister, Maren, and I were the youngest of all our cousins, and we were always included in family game time, as well as the huge dinners that took place at my grandmother's gorgeous Nordic-style home. My grandma would always make sure that we were included in the preparations for these family get-togethers. I have so many memories baking traditional sandkaker, shortbread cookies, and decorating the Christmas trees with rose-mold ornaments. That is how the Scandinavian spirit was introduced, through my grandmother. Because most of my family lives in Canada, my mom brought my sister and I to the Portland Grieg Lodge to learn more about our heritage. Soon enough, my sister and I started attending their Young Viking programs, where we learned Norwegian and all about different Scandinavian cultures. Through Grieg Lodge, my family found out about Camp Nidaros. At Camp Nidaros, I fell in love with learning the history and culture of Norway. My favorite part of camp, besides the traditional dances, was the language learning aspect. It was so meaningful to me to be able to communicate through the language of my ancestors. I truly felt connected to my Norwegian roots. I was 8 years old the first time I attended Nidaros. Attending Nidaros and later on Trollhagen set in motion my passion for continuing my bilingualism journey. I have attended Spanish bilingual schools since kindergarten and love to use my bilingualism to communicate with a wider range of communities. I hope to pursue a career as a speech therapist. This year, I have aided my local church, St. Matthew's, as a volunteer to communicate with Spanish-speaking families and help them with their Bible study courses. Being involved in my local community has truly become my passion. This year, I have also spent time at my local senior residence as a volunteer. I have created many meaningful relationships with these residents, and they have taught me so much about wisdom and communication through kindness. Being Lucia means spreading light to communities that are in need of love, care, and understanding. As Lucia, I would be able to combine my Norwegian heritage, my passion for language, and my passion for service to spread a sense of community and togetherness throughout Portland. Even the first day being a part of this Lucia court has been a wonderful experience. I have again felt very close to my roots as we have practiced singing traditional Swedish songs and dressing in traditional Lucia dresses. I plan to continue embracing my Scandinavian culture throughout my college life and future career. My dream is to visit Norway, hoping to attend folk school, just as my sister has, as well as to visit my relatives. I am truly proud and excited to be able to embody the Nordic spirit as a member of this Lucia court. Thank you.
Hey, jag heter Linnea. Hi, I'm Linnea Smith. I'm a senior at Grant High School in Northeast Portland. I work on the theater crew for productions at my school, and I've always loved math and patterns, but my biggest passion has always been dancing. I have danced with the Oregon Ballet Theater, performing in the Nutcracker, Napoli, and Alice in Wonderland, and I currently dance both ballet and contemporary at a studio called Steps PDX. I also plan to continue studying dance when I attend college next year. My passion for studying and performing dance, however, started when I joined the Vasa Rosebud Swedish Dancers when I was 2. Vasa is still an integral and important part of my life. I love sharing my Swedish culture with both the younger kids in my dance group as well as with every audience we perform for. Now that I'm older, in addition to performing with my group, I also assist in leading it. And last year I was chosen to represent the Vasa Rosebuds as our Lucia. With Vasa, I have performed every year at Oregon Midsummer and ScanFair, as well as in many other festivals, including those in Astoria, Junction City, and Burnaby, British Columbia. Additionally, I have performed for senior centers and retirement homes, where I've been able to give back to the community by sharing dance, music, and culture. In 2019, my dance group and I traveled to Sweden to celebrate Midsummer. This was one of the most remarkable and influential experiences of my life. I attended and participated in several midsummer celebrations in different towns, one of which was at the famous decorated farmhouses of Hälsingland, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. These are the traditional red farmhouses that come to mind when you think of Sweden. It was an enormous honor to lead the attendees in the traditional dances in a place where history and traditions are preserved and shared. And to be celebrating Midsummer like my ancestors would have made me feel even more connected to my heritage. I got to see firsthand how these traditions brought the entire community together, and it made me realize how much I appreciate the Nordic traditions of my family and the similar values of togetherness that Portland's Scandinavian community creates. Though I love Midsummer, Lucia is my favorite holiday. My family and I have celebrated Lucia with my grandparents and cousins every year since I was born, and it has always been one of the most treasured of my family traditions. It's a truly magical experience driving through the cold and dark of the city in the early morning in a warm car smelling of saffron and tomtegrätt. I love spending the morning with my family and seeing how happy my grandparents are when we bring the light of the holidays to them. I have always loved Lucia Day and the idea of Lucia. Generosity and giving back to my community are values that I believe very strongly in and admire, and I learned these values in part from the Lucia story. Through volunteering with my dance group, both in leading and performing, I've been able to see the positive impacts of those values when put into action. One of my friends once teased that I am aggressively Swedish. And though it was meant as a joke, there's more than a grain of truth to that sentiment. From celebrating Midsummer and Lucia to helping lead my Swedish dance group, I love everything I get to do to participate in and contribute to the Scandinavian community. Serving on the Oregon Lucia court is such an honor because it offers me the opportunity to share my love of my Swedish heritage to the broader community. It allows me to serve others, and it connects me more deeply to my roots. Tack så mycket och god jul.
Hey, jag heter Selena. I'm 19 years old and a freshman at Clark College in Vancouver, Washington. I'm so grateful to be able to speak to you all today and tell you a little bit about myself. My connection to my Nordic heritage began when I started learning more about my family history. I come from a Swedish-American family. We are descendants of Swedish immigrants who came to this country in the mid to late 1800s in hopes of establishing better lives for their families. My maternal second great-grandparents immigrated from the parish Alvdalen in Dalarna, Sweden to the United States in 1889, and they eventually settled in Washington, where my family still lives today. My paternal third great-grandparents were born in Gridstad, Avsborg, and Sophia Kyrk in Jönköping before moving to the United States in the 1870s. Since learning about my family history, it has been so much fun being able to bring a lot of the Nordic traditions into our family and be connected with our roots. One of the most important periods of this journey was serving on the Lucia court last year, where I was able to learn so much about this community and meet so many amazing people who accepted me with open arms. As the runner-up Lucia, I had a lot of fun being in charge of lighting the candles on the Lucia crown. One of my favorite memories was the Lucia Fest, where I was able to learn a variety of different Scandinavian songs. Staffan Visan is one of my favorites. I also adored going to ScanFair and learning how to play Nordic Cube for the first time. Outside of the Lucia court, I danced with Lake Herringen of Portland and have also been able to try lots of different Scandinavian meals and baked goods that my brother makes. One of my favorite meals is our old family recipe for Swedish meatballs. I was honored to be invited back onto the court this year, and I'm so excited to find out what more I can learn about this special tradition and continue to serve this community throughout the rest of the year. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here today and support this amazing program. Tack så mycket.
Hello, it's so good to be here this afternoon. My name is Jane Crass, and I'm a junior at Tualatin High School. My Nordic heritage, starting in the United States, comes from my great-great-great-grandma Nicoline Scholler and my three-time great-grandpa Peterson. Both immigrated from Denmark in the early 1900s and then met in the United States and established a home in the Pacific Northwest. I'm still learning about my Danish heritage, but every time I learn something new, I am in awe and ever more proud of my heritage. Like, I didn't know that Denmark was the second happiest country in the entire world. Second to Finland, of course, but who wouldn't want to be related to that? Or even, as a history geek, I loved figuring out that Denmark has the oldest flag that is still in use, and I just loved that. And can we be honest here? The Danes were Vikings. How cool is that? But it isn't just fun facts like these that have sparked my interest, but also family stories of immigrating to America. For instance, the story of my great-great-great-grandmother, who chose to flee Denmark because of an abusive marriage. She had to have a great amount of courage to leave for America, hoping for a better life for her children. I see that courage today through my grandmother's aunts, cousins, and mother. And I 100% agree with what I have been told my entire life, in that I am surrounded by strong women. And I am proud that I get to carry on that legacy and story. I also have admiration for another part of my culture, including its education system. As a high school student and future educator, the Nordic countries' education system is an outstanding role model of excellence. With a focus on building community and connecting with classmates and family, its system, I think everybody in my generation should take note of. One last thing before I go. I am so grateful for this opportunity to be on the Lucia court and experience more of my culture, and I'm proud to represent my heritage and family. Thank you.
Elise Margarita Christofferson. My name is not only representative of me, but of my culture and my ancestry. Margarita, my middle name, means daisy in Spanish, not just the cocktail as everyone here first thinks of. Christofferson, my last name, is of Norwegian origin. My mother and her family immigrated to the U.S. when she was only 8 years old, knowing only Spanish. My father is of Swedish and Norwegian heritage and was taught many traditions by my grandparents. Being Hispanic and Scandinavian, I want to best experience and celebrate all my traditions of my ancestry. I've done Spanish immersion school for most of my life and was lucky enough to visit Ecuador to see my family, be able to communicate with them, and see my ancestors' native land.
As a kid, we would have this tradition of making lefse, which is a soft Norwegian flatbread, made using traditional baking methods. It would take 2 days, one to prepare, the other to bake. We would use pounds and pounds of potatoes to make tons of lefse to give away to our community later on. We invite all our family to participate in this tradition. We were set up on stations. I was always on the cooling station, layering lefse in between cloth, wishing one day I'd be old enough to flip the lefse on the griddle. I started Swedish dancing at age 4 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, dancing in circles, jumping, singing kuakakak, pretending to be a Swedish frog. The love for Scandinavian culture started there. I remember listening to the story of Santa Lucia in awe. I remember looking up at the local Santa Lucia, dressed in long white robes with a red sash, wearing a candle crown made from lingonberry branches, giving out cookies, feeling envious of not being old enough to be her. When I moved to Oregon, I wanted nothing more than to continue Swedish dancing, and I begged my parents to do so. My parents eventually found the Vasa youth group, where even though it was a huge inconvenience for my parents to drive 30 minutes in traffic to Portland and back every single week, they still did it. I'm so grateful for my parents and their willingness and passion to participate in culture and encourage it for me. In 2019, I was extremely lucky to visit Sweden with my Vasa youth group to Swedish dance for many midsummer festivals. Being there, seeing the beauty and elegance of the architecture and nature, and the kindness of people there, opened my eyes to the beauty of my culture and background, and made me even prouder to say I'm Scandinavian, and to be a part of this amazing community. The same year, I was chosen by the Vasa youth group to represent our group in Santa Lucia, getting a taste of what I saw as a little kid. Currently, I'm a 12th grader at base, Beaverton Academy of Science and Engineering, where I'm on a pathway studying medicine and preparing for college. Being so passionate about medicine also falls in line for my love of people. I love people. I love helping people, going on mission trips with my church to Alaska and planning to go to Mexico this summer to build houses for people waiting on their citizenship alongside the border. I've also volunteered a lot at my local church with small projects to help our community. Volunteering is a very important part of my life because I believe whilst you're volunteering, helping, and bringing joy to other people, it brings out the best version of yourself. I feel every time I help a person or pick up a piece of trash, I become a slightly better version of myself. Now being old enough to represent Santa Lucia for our whole community and being old enough to flip the lefse on the griddle, I have experienced so much, and I'm ready to experience more. If I were able to represent Santa Lucia, embodying the humble and kind-hearted Lucia, it would not only be a whole new opportunity to explore and celebrate my culture and background, but to also become a better person. Thank you.
Wow. Congratulations to all 7 of you for doing an absolutely wonderful job. Now, to the judges, good luck. I mean, how do you choose between these unbelievable young ladies?
Natten går tunga fjät runt gård och stuva kring jord som solförlät skuggorna ruva. Då i vårt mörka hus stiger med tända ljus Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. Då i vårt mörka hus stiger med
Thank you for the opportunity to serve as Oregon's 66th Lucia. The court and I had a busy season spreading the light of Lucia. We have participated in many Christmas events, brought holiday cheer to our foster kids community, and made new friends. I am now excited to pass the crown on to your next Lucia. May the light of Lucia light your season. Good Yule.
Your 2020, 23, 24 Lucia Bryn Bourlon. Congratulations. The runner-up is Elise Christofferson.
Thank you very much. It is a proud moment for me to bring the light of Christmas to you. I hope it will light all of your hearts with happiness and shed its radiance of peace and joy in all your homes throughout this Christmas season. Merry Christmas. God Jul.
Right. So how about a round of applause for the whole court for everything? Congratulations to all of you. And a huge thank to all of you for coming out. This is a great crowd that we have had here. These girls have a busy season ahead of them. With a flurry of appearances and outreach in December. For a list of the appearances, visit nordicnorthwest.org or take a picture of one of the Lucia Christmas event posters at the Nordic house just outside. Special thanks to all of the chaperones, especially Anita Schnacky, who has been doing this forever and ever. How about a round of applause? Also, Anne-Marie and Grace Pannoni. And so all three of them, thank you very much. Big thanks. And a big thanks to all of you for coming out tonight, and especially the young ladies who were here. How about a round of applause for Lucia?